Okay, I want you to imagine something for a second. Your body is equipped with literally the most advanced high-tech water purification system on the planet. It runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it filters your entire blood supply dozens of times every single day. But what if, right now, drop by drop, you are unknowingly suffocating the system with everyday toxins? Welcome to This Explainer, where we're launching a really rigorous, high-stakes medical investigation into the hidden crisis of chronic kidney disease. Look, for adults over 45, the biological reality of renal health is shifting, and that margin for error, it's shrinking rapidly. The food you eat, the pills you take, heck, even the chair you're sitting in right now could be violently breaking your biological equilibrium.
But here's the truly terrifying reality about chronic kidney disease. It is a professional, silent thief. I mean, unlike your joints that'll practically scream in pain when they're inflamed, or your heart that thumps in your chest under stress, your kidneys have virtually no pain receptors. By the time you actually notice the clearest physical symptoms, we're talking maybe an unexplained swelling in your ankles, persistent muscle cramps, or this deep, suffocating fatigue that just won't go away. By that point, your kidney function has likely already plummeted by a massive 60 to 70%. The damage is profound, it's often severe, and tragically, it's sometimes totally irreversible.
Now, to really understand why you're at risk, we've got to look at the basic biology of aging. With every passing decade, your glomerular filtration rate, which is just the medical term for the raw, fundamental filtering capacity of your kidneys, undergoes a natural, completely unavoidable decline. Think of your kidneys kind of like a veteran, high-performance engine that's traveled hundreds of thousands of miles over 50 or 60 years, right? It still runs beautifully, but it desperately requires premium oil and really careful maintenance. Instead, what's happening is many of us are unknowingly forcing this veteran biological engine to run on highly toxic fuel, creating these microscopic scars that eventually just lead to total engine failure.
So, the critical question we have to ask ourselves today as we proceed is this: are you silently suffocating your body's most vital filters? We're going to count down the 4 hidden, everyday poisons that act like heavy hammers, just striking the delicate filtration structures of your kidneys. Let's unmask the first hidden enemy. Here is our first major toxin. Threat 4, stagnant circulation.
We're talking about an insidious modern epidemic here, a profoundly sedentary lifestyle. The hours upon hours spent sitting practically motionless in a chair or on a couch are, from a nephrological perspective, an absolute disaster for your renal arteries. You see, your kidneys rely entirely on a strong, consistent flow of oxygenated blood. Healthy circulation is like a powerful rushing river. It has high hydraulic power that flushes away debris and keeps the whole system crystal clear. But a sedentary lifestyle? It turns your bloodstream into a stagnant puddle. When your muscles are just idle, they actually stop using blood sugar efficiently. This triggers insulin resistance, which literally leaves microscopic shards of glucose lingering in your bloodstream, scratching and damaging the super delicate lining of your renal arteries. Fat accumulates, your heart has to work harder, and blood pressure spikes, just hammering your delicate kidney filters.
So we have to immediately restart that hydraulic blood flow. Implementing movement as medicine is your absolute non-negotiable preventative protocol. First things first, break up those long periods of stagnation. Set an alarm on your phone to stand up every 60 minutes. Even just a 2-minute stretch totally restarts your circulation. Second, build a daily 10-minute brisk walk into your routine. Remember, consistency completely overrides intensity here. A brisk walk effectively lowers your blood sugar and sends a life-giving wave of blood straight to your kidneys. And third, look, if mobility is a challenge, use seated chair exercises. Rotate those ankles, pump your arms. Any movement at all is a wave of fresh water washing through your vital treatment plants.
Now we're shifting our investigation to an enemy that's hiding right in plain sight. Threat 3, chemical suffocation.
Tucked away in the medicine cabinets of adults everywhere, people managing arthritis, back pain, or just chronic daily aches are NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. You know them as ibuprofen or naproxen. They're very often viewed as totally safe, simply because you don't need a prescription for them. But honestly, this is a lethal misunderstanding. To really grasp the gravity of this, you need to meet your prostaglandins. These are the incredibly loyal chemical gatekeepers inside your kidneys. Their entire job, their whole purpose, is to keep the small renal arteries wide open and perfectly dilated, ensuring your millions of microscopic filters receive a constant flow of oxygen and nutrients. But over-the-counter painkillers are fundamentally blind to this. When you swallow an NSAID, it effectively shuts down the pain signals in your aching knee, sure, but it simultaneously shuts down these vital gatekeepers in your kidneys. There is a quote from the clinical data that captures this reality so perfectly. It's exactly like stepping firmly on a garden hose while you're trying to water a really fragile plant. The small arteries in your kidneys forcibly contract, the blood flow is violently strangled, and your kidney tissue begins to literally thirst, starving for oxygen. Taking these pills every single day for chronic pain means you are repeatedly stepping on that hose. Day after day, your kidneys suffer microscopic mini-strokes and develop permanent internal scarring. You feel relief in your joints, absolutely, but your kidneys are silently suffocating.
To protect your renal filters, you've got to adopt this strict defense protocol. Number 1, never self-medicate with NSAIDs on a chronic, daily basis just to manage pain. You have to find the root cause instead of just silencing the alarm. Number 2, be hypervigilant. Identify those hidden NSAIDs lurking in over-the-counter cold medicines or even sleep aids. They're everywhere. Number 3, have a real conversation with your doctor about safer alternatives for occasional pain, like paracetamol or acetaminophen utilized in the correct dosages. And finally, utilize physical therapy, stretching, and temperature therapy. Just please do not sacrifice your life-saving kidneys simply to silence a stiff joint.
So we've seen the brutal damage from stagnation and from chemical strangulation. But what happens when you force a veteran engine to run on explicitly toxic dietary fuel? Let's escalate our investigation into the final 2 highly destructive everyday poisons that are just aggressively attacking the biological machinery of older adults right now.
This brings us to threat 2, an invisible aggressor we call pressure shredding.
We're talking about sodium here, but listen carefully, because I am not talking about that simple little pinch of salt you sprinkle on your morning eggs. No, we are hunting a much larger, stealthier enemy that violently breaks your internal biological equilibrium. A staggering 75% of the sodium you consume does not come from your salt shaker. It is a massive, hidden mountain buried deeply within processed foods by the food industry, mostly to extend shelf life and to mask cheap ingredients. It's hiding in your bread, your deli meats, your sliced cheeses, and even your supposedly healthy canned soups and salad dressings. When you consume this massive mountain of hidden sodium, your body desperately retains fluid just trying to dilute the salt.
And that excess fluid, it has absolutely nowhere to go. It stays right in your bloodstream, vastly increasing your blood volume and causing your blood pressure to violently skyrocket. Now remember, the microscopic vessels in your kidneys are as fragile as silk. Arterial hypertension forces the heart to pump that extra fluid so incredibly hard, it is exactly like trying to clean a delicate silk cloth by using a high-pressure firefighter hose at full blast. It physically shreds the microscopic membranes of your kidneys, minute by minute. So here are your clinical directives to drastically lower that arterial pressure. If you are an adult over 65, you need to limit your daily sodium intake to a strict 1,500 milligrams. If you absolutely must use canned vegetables, rinse them thoroughly under cold water for a full 60 seconds. That single act alone removes up to 40% of the added sodium. The ultimate defense, though, is cooking at home so you control your own inputs. Reset your taste buds by replacing toxic sodium with nature's actual arsenal: garlic, rosemary, turmeric, cracked pepper, and fresh lemon. Lower the pressure, save the silk.
And finally, we're unmasking the undisputed champion of silent renal destruction. Threat 1, caramelized filters.
The primary driver of kidney failure and dialysis globally isn't some exotic industrial chemical. It is the sugar in your coffee and its inseparable, invisible accomplice, refined white flour. When you consume excessive sugar, it launches this massive, coordinated strike on your entire system, leading to a biological horror known as diabetic nephropathy. This happens when chronic high blood glucose literally caramelizes the microscopic filters of your kidneys. I want you to imagine taking a fine, delicate mesh strainer and just dipping it into a pot of boiling hot, sticky syrup. When that syrup cools down and hardens, the mesh becomes totally rigid, all the little holes block up, and the strainer is completely ruined. High blood glucose physically scars your kidneys' filtering units exactly like that, causing them to leak vital proteins while trapping deadly toxins inside your body.
Sugar triggers a massive metabolic tsunami, leading directly to insulin resistance. But refined flour, which you'll find in that savory white bagel or your morning toast, is biologically identical in its destruction. Because it's been stripped of its protective fiber, refined flour instantly breaks down into glucose in your body. It rapidly spikes your blood sugar, forces your pancreas into total overdrive, and drives the accumulation of highly toxic visceral fat. This fat actively wraps around your organs and inflames your liver, severely accelerating your kidney decline.
It all boils down to this. Sugar is essentially fire for your arteries. This isn't just about weight gain. We're talking about a state of chronic, low-grade systemic inflammation. For an adult over 65, this inflammation acts exactly like coarse sand being poured directly into the delicate gears of your biological machinery. It stiffens your arteries and forces your kidneys into this desperate, constant struggle just to maintain baseline survival.
So how do we neutralize these systemic toxins once and for all? We execute the clinical defense protocol.
Look, I know these threats sound dire, and the stakes truly are life and death, but you are not powerless here. It's time to shift our focus to clinical empowerment. You must immediately transform yourself into a highly suspicious label detective. Flashy packaging on the front is purely marketing. The truth always lives on the back. First, execute the sodium scan. Look right at the nutrition facts and ensure every item has less than 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. Second, conduct the sugar alias search. Sugar hides behind 60 different names. Scan for words ending in OSE, like fructose or dextrose, and ruthlessly eliminate them. Third, implement the 5-ingredient rule. If the ingredient list is long and filled with unpronounceable chemicals, it's a highly processed hazard. Just leave it on the shelf.
Your ultimate goal here is building a diet strictly on one-ingredient foods. I am talking about fresh spinach, vibrant berries, farm-fresh eggs, and raw walnuts. Real, earth-based foods do not require complex labels or toxic preservatives. And let me share something deeply inspiring with you. The aging human body is astonishingly resilient. Even in your 70s and 80s, when you shift away from factory-made poisons and embrace one-ingredient foods, your risk of renal poisoning drops to almost zero. You stop the internal bleeding, and you actually allow that veteran engine to heal. You have totally earned the right to live your golden years with vibrant energy, completely free from the terrifying constraints of a dialysis machine or chronic illness. Your kidneys have performed a complex biological miracle for you every single second of your entire life. So I'm going to leave you with this final, vital question. Are you ready to make a conscious choice today? Step away from these hidden toxins and reclaim your cellular resilience. The choice, and ultimately your future independence, is entirely in your hands.